Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. Brandon here, and for the first time in a while, it's only going to be joined tonight by my good buddy Andrew Stark. Andrew, how's it going tonight?
We are doing good. Flying in hot from the dyno. Wasn't sure I was going to make it on time. That was a little bit scary, but we got here, so can't complain.
Do we have any preliminary numbers we can fire out of what we were testing tonight? We don't need to talk about who's or I don't know how much information is open to be shared, but like let's hear a big number for tonight.
Well, we were testing LS motors today. We had an LS bracket motor set up, and the big news was between gas and methanol, there was no discernible difference. Quite shocked by the LS setup on this one. So if I'm to throw out some insight on it, we actually dynoed it. Had the same number on methanol as we did gas. Was spent I think 7 hours making pulls on this thing, so it's just about ready to be rebuilt at this point. I think we made 20 pulls, but it was a fun day. Fun day.
Yeah, so there's definitely worse things to be doing during the day.
Well, this is the thing, right? Shout out to all my crew at the shop who bailed me out of not having to work at the shop today so I could go play on the dyno. So
yeah, not a bad deal. Everybody hanging out, be sure to let us know you're hanging around. We've already got a couple folks in the comments letting us know. Mike Doe, leg competition, always watching, always hanging around. Got a special one, Kyle Harris from Four Oaks, North Carolina.
I'm not 100% sure they still want to be in Four Oaks based on the picture I saw, but they are still in Four Oaks. But we'll let Kyle comment on that one. He can fill us in live update as we go here.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds like an interesting story, I'm sure, after a wild weekend for Kyle Harris. So, yeah. With that, we'll dive into the Canadian countdown, Andrew. A lot of action, a lot of big results from some Canadian racers. How I want to start this countdown is snow sucks. That's it. That's what I got. Snow sucks.
Woke up this morning, seen it all on the ground, and we're going through another bipolar spring, right? Just all over the place. But here we are. But you know where there was no snow was in Galat. PDRA, East Coast Nationals. Quite a few Canadians made their way down there, and quite a few of our Canadian friends who've become Americans. We'll talk about Melanie Salemi, formerly from Aurelia. We talked about, I guess 2 weeks ago, we had Steve King on, right? Big shout out to the Salemi family for the tuning on his car and all the maintenance. Well, it didn't take the Salemi family long to continue to make their point on the 2025 season on who is the baddest of the Pro Mod world when Melanie, from the number one position, drives right through the field to the final against Johnny Camp. She goes 001, 362 with a 2. Wicked pass. Johnny Camp, no slouch, 18, 362.8. So really, that one's won or lost on the tree. That is a close race. But Melanie wins it wire to wire. So that would be 2 big wins to start the year off for the Salemi camp. One with the Steve King operation. I believe they've also done some Radio versus the World action there. I can't remember how they did it back a few months ago there, but they're off to a heater to start this year. From there, we can jump into Elite Top Dragster. That's where the Kyle Harris Racing Team had a great weekend, other than the reasons that they still might be in Four Oaks, which I saw a picture of the truck being worked on, so either they're doing maintenance while they're still down there, or they're still trying to get home. If they're still trying to get home, I do wish them the best. That is not a fun way to end a great weekend for them. But Kyle qualified number 5, and this is the part that's insane to me. Number 5 with a 379.8 in Elite Top Dragster. I believe the pole was 369. The bump was 384. Just insanely fast and great bracket racing too. When you go through the stat sheet on it, I won't necessarily go line for line, but there were some great rounds where Kyle was teen and 1/1 to be against another car was 26 and 1/8, right? And rounds like that. Gets all the way to the finals, and then heartbreaker. So racing Steve Furr in the finals. Steve rattles the tires. Kyle gets out, rattles the tires, rattles them into a center lane crossing. Win goes back to Steve Furr, even though the win light comes on in Kyle's lane as he gets down the track at 96 mile an hour. But still, great start to the 2026 title defense, 25. I can't remember what year we're in now. This is where I'm so tired right now. I'm just lost. But great start to his title defense. Flying Ryan Harris qualifies in the 32 car Pro Junior Dragster field. So that's the 790 index. Gets all the way down to the semifinals. So great start. He was in championship form, to start his year off as well. And again, he had a really close call last year where he was down to the final race, and the non-qualifier is what got him. So championship caliber start for him. He'll also be jumping into the big car as we go along. A few other Canadians down there running Pro Street. John Carinci, who is again kind of a Canadian transplant down to the U.S. I believe he calls Florida home now. Wild fact about him, he qualified on the bump spot in Pro Street, which is essentially 10.5, and had top mile per hour for the meet. So I would suggest there's a lot more left in that particular combination where you can just barely qualify, but you've got top mile per hour. Him and Nick Agostino unfortunately go out. I believe it was in round one. Both qualified, but unfortunately couldn't get through that part of it. From there, we can go to NHRA Pomona, which is the Winter Nationals in spring.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of a different feel for that. It's interesting. It was good watching. I don't know how much you got to see of that. I don't get to watch a whole lot of NHRA stuff. We don't usually get it, but every once in a while we head across the driveway there to the in-laws, and we got some NHRA racing going on. It's exciting. We've talked obviously a boatload about Spencer Hyde, right? That's the big news in Canadian drag racing to this point, right? That's the biggest thing we have going for us, and it's good, right? It's a huge thing going on. So Spencer, after two unsuccessful events, I'm not going to call them failures by any means. That's not at all what we're doing. So unsuccessful event is how we're going to talk about. Not making the qualifying, making it to qualify in the first two races. Finally, the Winter Nationals gets in solidly. I think midway. I think he finished 11th. Is what he finished. What he qualified with. Goes out. Ron caps round one. Gets the win light. Round two runs Cruz Pedregon. Once again gets a win light. Comes into round
champions down.
That's it. Huge, right? Those are huge rounds. So great for him. Gets to the semifinals. I think he shook the tires.
Yeah, rattled them.
Rattled the tires, and then Daniel Wilkerson goes I think he went
389.
I was gonna say he went a 389. Like I think most everybody else that round was shaking the tires, and Wilkerson goes down and just blasts that. So very tough one to beat for sure. But no, that was awesome to see. It was awesome to watch. Andrew, you got here. So I didn't know this. Spencer qualifies for the Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge in Chicago May long weekend.
I believe that'll be so. The final four from the previous race qualify for the challenge. They basically re-rack the pairs from the semis from the last race, because the next two races are both 4 wide formats. One in Charlotte, one in Vegas. They won't run the challenges there, basically because they're 4 wide challenges, and but the Saturday will be re-racked. So I believe Spencer will have another crack at Daniel, and Beckman will have another crack at Hagen. Not that he needs it because he beat Hagen to go on for the event win. But they'll do that. So Spencer has a chance to get some redemption on Daniel, and there's championship points, there's money at stake, and there's a tasty challenge.
Yeah, and a quick note too, before we do move on, because this is worth talking about, that win for Fast Jack Beckman was the number 300 win for John Force Racing.
Yes.
300th NHRA event win for that race team. So, obviously John with 150 of them. No. Two.
Yeah, it's north of that.
He had that. It was north of that. Is it 250?
No, I don't think it's that high. Boy, this is an on-the-fly stat right here.
That's it. We'll whip it out.
Yeah. I think you're going to look for it. So, yeah. No, congratulations. That was a big thing. And you know what? To kind of go into the commentary aspects of it, the color commentary, Jack Beckman, great driver, great individual, great representative. So to see him be the one to get the 300th win, I think it would have been awesome to see Austin or Brittany get that. But Jack certainly solidifying himself in that team, and hopefully be a driver for them for many years to come. Awesome to see that. John Force Racing off to a great start again this year. So personal favorite.
That is 157 Tour victories.
For JF.
Is what it says for John Force himself. So, yeah, crazy stat though that
It is
for as many as John Force has for his team to have won another
300.
On top is wild. So,
Well,
cool deal.
Could go back the other
Look
direction
that up.
on this, right? You got a guy who's had cars for 3 and 4 car teams at one point. He still holds over 50% of the wins for the team.
Yeah.
That is a stellar career in a 20 to 24 race season when you look at the average for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
cool stat.
Yeah.
Their pro stock. We had 2 more Canadians. So again, Pomona was filled with them. Matt and Eric Latino. Matt, I believe this is his second attempt to get in. He did not run at Gainesville. He ran at Arizona. Unfortunately, didn't qualify. Eric Latino, who's kind of one of the stewards of the Titan.
KB Titan.
Right. KB Titan Motorsports. Both qualify and get each other in round 1. That is not how you draw that up, I think, on the paper, particularly for teammates, particularly for father and son. Nonetheless, with the deck stacked against Matt, who's getting a start against one of the fast cars in the fleet, takes his dad out. I believe he was 18, goes 653 to Eric's not as good light going 650 for the W. Unfortunately, round 2 for Matt. A lot of two-step style clutch issues at this race where hit the pedal and just drives through it. So he had one of those type deals in round 2, which is unfortunate because his opponent went 653. Matt would have had something for that based on the round 1 performance. But great job to him. First career start. In his first career start, gets his first career round win, and it comes against your dad. Kind of a cool deal on a whole shot.
On a whole shot against your dad too. Like you didn't just go out and beat him, right? Because then if you just outpowered him, that's one thing, right? Because he owns the team and or is part of that ownership and is part of the engine deal. That's one thing. When you go and whole shot your dad to take that win, like that's different.
That's some bragging rights right there that I'm sure were maybe there was some sleeping on the trailer floor after that one for that night. Hard to say, but other Canadians there, Aaron Saiki, top sportsman winner, all the way down from, I believe he's in Alberta. Aaron. So I know he's been running around with top dragster with one of those 959 Musi motors. Also has a top sportsman car. And gets the Winter Nationals win in top sportsman in the final. Letting go 8, dropping to dead 8, right, to go 13 total for the W. Fantastic lap. Aaron had a great weekend. He's been starting off the year. I think he's been to everything on the West Coast. So I'm not sure how that works out for him points-wise, but definitively a great start to the year for him in top sportsman. McKenna Bull, who we've talked about before, for Alberta resident, who is in the Randy Myers racing team, which is a premier championship top alcohol dragster team, gets her debut, qualifies, goes to round 2, had a great light. Unfortunately, a super fast field. Top alcohol, because of the weather down there, was just flying. Loses on a 522 to a 514. And Sean Cowie, who is again in the running for World Championships, kind of the perennial Canadian who's running around doing that sort of thing. Loses in the semis of top alcohol dragster 002, but the alcohol cars are flying. The injected nitro cars are hanging. It's going to be a great year in top alcohol. We've got a couple Canadian contenders running around in there. So as of right now, we've got Spencer and Nitro Funny Car trying to compete for a world championship. We've got 2 pro stock cars. We've got 2 top alcohol dragsters. We've got 2 NHRA Pro Modifieds with Jordan Lasik and Justin Bond, they have all the power they need to go out and win races. It's going to be a lot of fun watching NHRA this year. Can't wait for the East Coast East Coast side to kick off, because there's more than enough people on this side who have a shot at championships as well if everything comes together.
Yes, sir. Should be exciting and always neat as we do this, right? I say this all the time, but cool when you get to learn more of the details of what's going on and kind of behind the scenes stuff too. It makes a bit of a difference. So that's why I especially love talking about it here on this platform. Andrew, there was some bit of an exciting bracket race I guess, over in
Yes.
the western side of the United States, if you want to label it like that. The Spring Fling Million kicked off last week, a week-long event. Cool to watch. Some good racing. It's
Absolutely.
hard to watch from where we are because we're so far behind, right?
Yeah.
Like I know they ran the final of the million at I think it was 1 a.m. in Vegas, so 4 a.m. here. So
If
it's
it was
just
just a
what it
bit
is.
later, I would have been waking up to watch it. So
Yeah, exactly. So I did not see the final. Watched a bunch of the first few rounds. Watched some stuff Tuesday for the dragster race. I don't have the name here. There was a racer from Calgary down to 8 that was doing well in the dragster race and then
nice.
lost then. Bunch of folks down there: Travis Dwayne Ringeth, Craig Johnson, Jason Pad, Jason Mercer, Tanner Gates, Ryan and Darren O'Connor, Monty Beagle, many more. Put on a good show to watch. Nobody went crazy deep, and got their pitch taken at the end of the night. But good for all those dudes making the tour down, putting on some great runs. I was talking to Travis a fair amount through the whole last week. What was it? In the million in the buyback round, he's 003 take 7 for the loss.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's just a bad deal, man.
Yeah.
Pulling in
That's
wrong.
just that. Yeah, exactly. That's just pulling into the lanes wrong. Is all that
Yeah.
is. And
That's I said that happened, and I think 2 pairs behind. Shane Carr is up, right, and Shane, one of the best to ever do it, right?
Yeah.
Goes out, and I don't know if I've never seen this happen or never heard of it, but Shane lets go 71 on the tree,
Yeah.
right? Two pairs behind where Travis is, 003 for the loss. Shane does get the win. His opponent had some pieces of the bottom of the engine decide to exit about half track and blew that up, which I guess this whole week or that whole week in Vegas was plagued with oil downs and
I
stuff blowing up. So not a good start to the year for a lot of folks.
no. That is. I'm not sure if that is an economic issue of just a whole bunch of people not doing rebuilds or just what that one's all about. But that was a weird one. You don't see that very often with big events like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you had a spare motor there and it was for sale, boy, it was a real seller's market there. So
So I want to talk about about the Fling Million stuff, the Fling Week, for a minute. A lot of these guys make a lot of huge trips to get out there.
Yeah.
A lot of East Coast guys, a lot of Southern guys. Corey Galletti, obviously from Texas, makes the big tour out there. Had a wild week, right?
Yeah.
Corey did. So Corey driving the dragster that he won in the dragster race in Vegas 3 years ago. I think it was three years ago, 4 years, don't matter. So won it in Vegas a few years ago. Comes out to Vegas again, wins the dragster race on Tuesday. So gets another car there. Good start. I'm not sure how he did in the 30K on Wednesday, but loses at 9 cars left in the million. So makes that split, which was the biggest Fling million ever. Paid $450 to the winner. So that purse to cut up then was massive.
yes.
See, there's north of 500,000 in the purse,
Yeah.
depending on what they cut up and when they did. But so there's some money getting made. Next day, gets some rest, does his thing, comes out runner up on Saturday for 60K. They'd combined Thursday and Friday's race together, or Thursday and Saturday's race together. I mean, and yeah, runners up that 60K. So Corey did all right.
Yeah, I'd say he's got a few bills paid for 2025 already, and he's running on some house money for a little bit.
Yeah, and there ain't no problem with that. So no, good for him. That was a cool show. And I talked about this. I was talking with Mike when we were at the shop after discussing everything. Because Corey won, and then who won next? Kevin Brandon won the 30K,
Yeah.
and then somebody. There's another hitter that had done really well, and I love Gage Birch won
Yes.
30 actually, and
Yeah.
Kevin KB won something else.
Yeah. Might have been the final.
Might have been in a final, but either way, I love when the best go out to events like that and win. I hate it, but I love it. Right? You hate it because you're not that guy and you're not winning that, and it gets whether it gets older, it gets this or gets that, to see the same dude do well all the time, right? But I love it at the same time because I love when it proves how different and how separated those dudes are from the field. You know, it
Going to a
really
completely different
makes a
track, different
huge,
environment.
exactly, it makes a huge statement to how good these racers really are and what the difference is, right? And it's not, oh, you know, it's a benefit, sure. They get to race more, they get to do this, they get to do that, but that comes with a cost, and you have to earn that at the same time,
Yes.
right? If these dudes are going out, because I'd imagine the tab in Vegas, plus the fuel, plus this, plus that, you can't just show up and then get smoked all week long and have no consequences for that, right? Or you can't go a full year and only put out and not have any come back in when you're doing it at that pace
Yeah.
and spending the money they are. So when they do that, I love it. You know, good
Yeah.
for them. More power to them.
That's-
I want to be there because I want to beat them. That's the dude I want, right? I want to roll in round 6 and then have that guy. And then if you get spanked, then you get spanked by the best.
yeah.
But if you beat
But if
them,
you win it,
then you beat the best. You know. So
absolutely.
no, cool deal for him. And then I want to talk about the million. Didn't see a whole lot of stuff. Like obviously, I didn't watch the rounds like we talked about. I wasn't staying up that late. Pretty much once I saw a few Canadians go out, then I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm going.
Yeah. I
I,
can catch the rest of it in the morning when I wake back
Yeah.
up. And
if I wake up and there's a big post about whoever, you know, a Canadian that won, we'll focus on that a bit.
yeah.
Cooper Chun with the win. Great dude. A lot of people have awesome stuff to say about him. 21 years old, just turned 21 that week, like the week earlier. So worked out for him because then they got to load up in the limo and head down.
Just gonna say, just old enough now to legally drink in the winner's circle by all
Yeah.
legal standards in the U.S. Right?
Exactly, and then get the ride in, go downtown on the strip in Vegas. You know, I don't know how else you have a better 21st birthday.
I could not. I don't think you could have planned that out any better, to be quite honest with you. Right? So
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. But yeah, I didn't. I wish I'd had a better chance to watch as much of the race week. We had it on a little bit in the shop in between doing work in the shop, so that was about as close as I got to it, which was the early rounds. But a lot of great storylines that came out of the million. You know, not and some different winners. I mean, in years gone by, some of these big names that we talked about, like Galletti and Birch, they had done well at millions or flings. Just the Vegas race wasn't the one that you typically saw those guys do as well per se, right? Like peaks and valleys, right? So some interesting to see how some of these deep south and east racers did real well on the coast, west coast, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a fun race week. Looking forward to Galot. That's not the million, but like it really brings out that East Coast. That's really the first big East Coast, race of the year, right? Where the bracket world gets rolling. So that'll be a heck of a lot of fun to see everyone traverse all the way from Vegas to the other coastline, right?
Yeah.
And start this all over again for triple 50s, I think, right?
Yeah.
So
What are you doing next weekend? Or in a couple weeks? You see, we
we're
make something working.
Yeah. I'm scrambling. I'm close, but I'm not close enough. Is my biggest problem.
I hear you.
We got all But
Yeah.
so we're working on it. But I guess the last big update. I've made this part of I feel like my Canadian countdown. Right? It's the IHRA as the world turns. Like I'm so invested in this whole thing to the point where I feel like I'm just watching soap operas, and I feel bad because I'm not sure if anyone else cares as much as I do. But if we can indulge this weird infatuation I have with the IHRA, we have more updates, and it has nothing to do with us. In a sense, I guess so. If we go back to the old IHRA comments, they bought what was it, like a half dozen racetracks, and almost immediately a bunch of them said like, whoa, no one has bought us. Well, one of them has confirmed they have been acquired. So Galot, which we were just talking about as being part of the next fling, is under IHRA ownership. And both sides have confirmed it. So I guess this facilitates some truth to what they're talking about with the expansion of IHRA. Interestingly enough, Grand Bend Drivers meeting was this past weekend, was live streamed Did catch that as Sunday morning. I decided it was a good day to shut down and not do anything after 7-8 days in a row of race shop, workshop, all shops, conferences. They did mention the WDRA IHRA Alliance, so Grand Bend and St. Thomas are both WDRA tracks. It's where Drew Buckner won the World Championship out of in the no box class through St. Thomas. They did acknowledge the IHRA WDRA Alliance. If we go back, IHRA will be running some national events at WDRA tracks. So nothing's been announced for 2025 with Grand Bend or St. Thomas. Grand Bend being the one that typically has hosted large national events, and they do still have their WDRA national event this year, which will have various show cars. But it creates a little bit of interest that now that there is actually some movement, at least one of the 6 tracks has confirmed it's been acquired by IHRA. And IHRA seems to be still moving forward with running national events at WDRA facilities. We'll keep our hand on the pulse of this. See how that goes. So
Interesting. It'll be interesting moving forward what happens. And like you said, it is quite a time watching all the IHRA stuff.
I'm really glad they got that going on because it's at our soap operas, and then this is just way better than that. So
Exactly. So I don't know. That's about it for Canadian Countdown content, right? Nothing too huge. You hit on Grand Bend, St. Thomas had a drivers meeting. I'm not sure of how much big information they would have had. Obviously, the IHRA news would have been the biggest, right? Not that it was really had an impact on most of the racers there or on that track, but maybe in the future it will. But I'd imagine not a whole lot of changes, right? Kind of status quo for the most part.
they've interested to see them talk about some, again, the local scene, right, of where this season's going to be. So one of the conversations came up is that tariffs, cost of operations and things like that, they never go down, they're going up. So there's been some price increases on a few of the classes, which I think at this point, everyone could see the writing on the wall coming, and I'm sure that's going to be the same across the board in a lot of other places. Price of glue has gone up. The only thing that's really gone down at this point is the price of energy, which is diesel and gas and that sort of thing. Price of race fuel really hasn't, so that's a different conversation altogether. But they're trying a few different things to bring a few more people in. I think they're seeing more of the attempt, like we see through COVID, of maybe trying to capture the racer that's not looking to travel, which is the interesting conversation of where does this look like for 2025, because this is a different thing altogether. When we had COVID, there was certainly a captured audience because no one could at some points leave your province, let alone race in the US. And because of the way the anti-travel sentiment has really been brought up, I'm not sure the racing world is seeing that as much, but the price of racing is no cheaper than it was. So it was kind of one of those interesting conversations to see what's going to happen. Price of fuels hasn't been this cheap since 2020, 2021, which we couldn't travel anyway. But going back prior to that, when the borders open, you're going back quite a few years to see fuel prices this low. Whether that has any effect on traveling, I mean, everything else is up, so maybe it's just a wash in the end. But it'd be one of those years where I'm curious to see how the local tracks try to, keep people close to home when traveling may not be in the cards for those who aren't looking to do it as much.
I think it's gonna be interesting. I think you kind of said that for the anti-traveling kind of thoughts that might be going around. I'm not sure how many, like I said, how much the Canadian racers might be impacted by that. Kind of, it's one of those deals that we've got 6 months to do this. A year, give or take, whatever, however long you want your season to be. If there's an opportunity to go racing, you go racing, right?
Yep.
At whatever kind of stuff you want to do or can do. So, Kyle Harris, for their setup, what they have going on, PDRA is the only thing that has something to offer for them. There really isn't, there's RCSS, Acuga, right? They have a quick sportsman class, but it's not made for Kyle Harris. That's not made for a car that goes 370s or 38 or that's not that deal for them. So if Kyle wants to race, Kyle's going there. everybody else we already talked about, NHRA stuff. You know, you want to race, that's what happens in that area, right? We talked about Spencer Hyde. What's Spencer doing? Well,
Yep.
Spencer's got an opportunity to race. He's going to race, you know, and good for him, right? As I think everybody should be. I think you're set up, you know, you want to go racing in the States, right? You're going racing in the States. You know, that it's a different deal when it comes to this stuff. We only have so much of an opportunity to do it. And then a lot of people get wound up about a lot of stuff. Everybody has the reasons for that, and that's good and bad. But, you know, racing's been taken away before. Everything's been taken away before. You know, I'm not going to limit what we're trying to do, right? My racing schedule at this point, I'm not going to the States, but that's because I have we got a busy life. We got everything going on at work. You know, I have a baby at home and wife, and just, you know, life is what life is. And at this point in my life, you know, being wide open and going to every race I could make it to doesn't make sense. But yeah, it'll be interesting how everybody else kind of takes it and what they think. There's two sides of it. Obviously, if people stay home, that's a benefit to Canadian drag racing. As long as, you know, you go and you support your local track. COVID numbers were the best I would imagine or believe that we'd ever seen, you know, in all reality. So, because we had nowhere else to go. So
it drew more people out. That was surprising, those years where you saw equipment that you hadn't seen in a long time, or some different equipment or new equipment, right? Or people that just had bought new equipment that were, you know, racing been around for a while. It was, and I'm not sure how that's going to work. I mean, I think the economy downturn, we had that during COVID, but in a different capacity. It was a little different rationale for it, right? One of the things I would like to point out that I found intriguing, looking at our East Coast friends and our, you know, western to Alberta to the East Coast, Atlantic, a lot more at-home, bigger payout races being organized, right? You know, Atlantic, trying to think of the series out there, but they've got a couple $5,000ers that they're trying to organize and a few more. Right?
That's at Greenfield.
I believe that's Greenfield, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get out to Rad Torque. They've got is the Super Eliminator. I can't quite remember the name now. I'm just drawing a blank here as we talk about this. But again, some bigger payout races. Like, they've already got some big payout races, but again, they're trying to organize some stuff that, you know, if you can't travel or don't want to travel, or just flat out maybe the seeing the change in the marketplace where they want to see some more local stuff. Is it deep paying? No, because you're not going to get 300 cars, right? You're building fields around 60, 70 type cars. But those particular areas have really looked at, okay, if we can get the folks that don't want to travel 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 30 hours to some of these bigger races like we see in the U.S., well, we'll try to do them here. And they've certainly put a lot of effort into it based on what I've seen, which, you know, I'm intrigued by. I wish them the best with that, because I think that'd be a good blueprint to see maybe out this way as we start to get into, you know, more of the difficulties in traveling, right? If the price points of equipment starts going up, right? Price points of maintaining stuff to travel distances. A lot of home tracks that with some better payouts might do well, right? But that's it was intriguing to see those areas looking to take that approach versus what we've seen in other parts of Canada, right?
No, it'll be good, and then that's overall. I think without you take out all the other outside kind of factors, I believe Canadian racetracks are really putting a push to be better for the racers. There's been a feel of that. You know, we just talked about the Down East stuff. They've been really pushing hard for the last few years to continue to improve and move all their programs forward. Down East, kind of what I've gathered or from different conversations with folks, a little bit behind the times, you know what I'm saying? So they're kind of catching up to that and seeing all the stuff that's going around, and then all the racers are seeing what they want to do, and they're pitching in to really be a part of the growth of the sport in that area. So it's really cool to do that. So it's getting better. I know there's like Lusville's making a lot of improvements. Napierville's doing some different stuff. I don't. There's a lot, whatever, with the St. Thomas and Grand Bend deal, right? There's a lot of people that like to pick apart those racetracks. I think that they're doing awesome stuff there and really putting an effort through. The 660 race being in October now, I didn't, having got to go in the last, like I went 2 or 3 years ago now, was my last 660 event.
Yep.
2 years ago, because just before we had Alex. But that's been huge for racers too, and a great way to end the year altogether. So on a high note, and they kind of ride that into it. So without everything else that's been happening in the world that's going to push racers to stay home and support their local tracks, they've already been putting in that work. So then now this is just that extra shove to, hey, support close to home. So no, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's good with those things. I mean, this is one of those tough subjects, right? And I keep getting asked this all the time. I mean, one of the hardest things is we're pricing parts, we're pricing wheels, we're pricing fuel, we're pricing this and that. And, well, is that with or without tariffs? I'm like, I don't know. Today it's not. Tomorrow it might be. I think that type of not being able to predict what's going to happen and how that's going to affect economics. I mean, that's where everything starts from, right? Because this is all disposable income, regardless of what level you're doing it at, right? Whether it's most of your disposable income or a small part of it, it's all the first thing that got to go if things take a downturn in someone's life or in their area. But it's created that almost to the point, I think we've heard about it enough that I've heard enough people say they're just at the point of ignoring it, like it is what it's going to be. And at that moment of that crossroad of saying, okay, I can't do this anymore, then they'll decide that. I know in previous years we've had so much discussion at this point. What's the year going to look like? How are we going to gauge it? And we've lived with this tariff on, tariff off talk for so long now, which ironically hasn't been that long. Like I think it was end of January, early February, and here we are just at the start of April. It feels like it's been years of listening to this. This only been a couple months. But it's burnt a lot of people out. I shouldn't say everyone, but it's burnt a lot of people out saying, okay, well, it is what it's going to be. We'll figure it out as we go, right? And on top of that, take the 20 cents a liter in our pockets that may only be here till the end of April, may not.
That's it.
Again, May 1st will indicate something, right? Maybe not May 1st, but May something will indicate
that
something,
idea.
right? But, it's hard to tell. I think there's a bit of an optimism for a great season coming up in a lot of avenues, right? I think we certainly see it particularly I've seen it with just the amount of customers that we've had come through the shop, through the dyno, conversations about an upcoming year, right? Of, as long as things don't go too sideways, and so far nothing's gone too sideways. But, it's a cautious optimism. I think people just want to get racing and stop listening to all the things, the news and everything else, because when you're at the track, the news tends to go off and life's a little bit more enriching. So,
yeah, when we talked about, we referenced COVID before. Obviously we've all had a million conversations about it. Doesn't matter. But we talked about COVID was the only place. The racetrack was the only place during that time that was normal. And then we get back to that, right? We get back here in May long weekend or whenever your season starts. We get back to our normal on the weekend, right? Work life, this home, whatever else, everything else going on. None of it matters, right? When we go to the racetrack. So I'm excited to get back to that. And there's zero we're going to do about any of this other stuff. There's, obviously we talked about tariffs and pricing and whatnot. You and I get a different look at them, at the behind the scenes stuff, because obviously, having businesses and or working in business, that we get access to performance parts and performance parts pricing. We just got 16, I want to say 6, maybe not that many pairs, say 12 or 13 pairs of Mickey Thompson Big Bubba's.
Yep.
And price is way up, right? That it is what it is. Every price is way up. But if I compare that to Summit, right? I'll use that as my example because that's what I look at. If you convert that straight from that US dollar you would buy at Summit to Canadian dollars, that our retail is here, we're $90, I think, on a Big Bubba more per tire. So $180 more than what you could buy from Summit. So, tariffs on, off, I don't know, because, we might not see it because of where our supply, maybe the supplier buys in has a tariff. I don't know. who knows, right? There's so many questions that are unanswered. And then, I don't know, if we're the extra money that it's going to be, it just is what it is, man. I hear you. But nothing is going down right at the moment. So, it sucks. I don't disagree how expensive it is, but there's nothing we can do. You know, everybody who buy from local places, buy from Canadian places, right? Everybody, you know, you shop around to 5 million, get 5 million different options or prices or this or that, and, you know, wasting everybody's time. You know, support local, support your people who support the racetrack.
Yeah. Help
them make money. And those people aren't the guys making, you know, marking it up 100% or 200% or 50%. Yeah. You know, that's really what you have to focus on when you're buying parts and looking at pricing, because, you know, as long as your supplier or whoever you're buying from isn't going to gouge you on that stuff, which you have to trust where you're dealing. Like, there's not really much you can do with it, and if you just follow and ride this wave, who knows where we're going to end up.
No, that's the truth. That's the truth, and it's you're never going to be able to predict it. If I had a crystal ball to be able to figure all this out, there's so many other avenues I'd be able to use it in, to play lotteries, things like that, to be way more successful. But you just got to roll with the punches, right? On this, and I think we got to do it as an industry, as a specifically Canadian industry, as a Canadian based sport. There isn't much to do about it other than just do what you can, run what you can, support what you can, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Canadian supporter. I'm also the one that realizes that, like, we're better off working together than we are as separate entities, right? We're far too intertwined as countries. But, you know, I think it's going to be one of the things, once we get racing, once the tracks are up and running up here, just back to the seasonal things, as you look outside, you see snow on the ground. It's a little bit depressing at the moment, depending on where you are. But it's coming, right? And it's coming sooner than later. I think it, you know, changes everyone's opinion. It'll be a little bit different. We won't be so fixated on everything as much as we are, just because now we're out at least enjoying what we're doing, right? Enjoying the little more expensive tires as we're doing burnouts for 60, 70, 80 feet, whatever it may be. Or maybe they're just 40 feet this year, right? Got a, you know, 25% more tire, 25% less burnout, whatever. But, you know, it's been a long winter, and it's certainly not been an easy one for a lot of folks, particularly those who, if you watch the news, it's been tough to get through. It's like the track's open. A lot of this, I think, anxiety over all this will start to go away. And, you know, I think that cautious optimism for, you know, a fun race season is what's kind of sitting in the background, and then it'll come to fruition.
Yeah. I will guarantee you this right now. Maybe not the first burnout, because we have a, you know, new combination or everything like that that's going on. But those burnout, it's going to be as long as it'll let me go.
No 25%.
I promise you that. Right? It's been too long.
I like it.
Way too long. All out. I don't care what it costs. We're sending that thing. Gotta have
thinking
fun.
about that too, right? It's like,
Gotta have fun.
I've still got last year tires sitting on the ground in good storage. That I'm like, we can still send these. They're still 25% cheaper than they were last year, which means don't need to save them.
Exactly. But no, it should be good. I'm excited. I'm excited to get the racetrack. Andrew, you and I have been kind of a part of the BR 101 Bracket Racing 101 course that I've been putting on. It's been great. I wasn't kind of really as hopped up for race season yet. Just same, I think, as everybody is. The warm weather came and went, and then so that kind of turns it back off a little bit. When you're back in the cold, you're not as jacked up. So doing that, working in that course, talking to different people about racing, and being intentional in all of our conversations, you know, not just talking nonsense, standing around, right? We're having real life informative conversations about getting ready for the season. So that's been really great for getting me back in the mood.
Yep.
Right.
Getting focused again. Yep.
I can't wait for it, man. It's gonna be a blast. I can't wait to get back and see everyone. I can't wait to get, you know, the drivers meeting this weekend is gonna be a lot of fun to hang out and talk to folks. Yeah. No, May long weekend for me can't come soon enough.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm with you on that one.
Mm-hmm. No, it'll be good. I think it'll be a good year. I hope that everybody gets to enjoy it. I hope that, you know, price of things don't make too much of a negative impact in what's going on. But yeah, make the best of what you can. I was looking through and seeing what other big news we have really, but there's not a whole lot that we haven't already covered, right?
We're in that just off-season cusp of we're just about ready to kick all our own stuff off. We're just getting enough U.S. type stuff from Canadian racing. We're in this little bit of a gray area, right? Racing's happening, but we're not quite racing yet, but we're awfully close to it. So
yeah, absolutely. If
gap.
That's it. If there's anything else last minute that you guys need, parts, help, information, whatever that may be, shoot us a message. Andrew and I both ready and willing to help out, right? Get you some info. We've been selling a bunch of FTI stuff here. We've been selling a bunch of K&R stuff, delay boxes, dial boards, wiring kits. So people diving into it, right? Maybe a little last minute, but that's all right. Ain't no problem with that.
You know what? It's sometimes last minute gets the most done, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it does. You got to do it with a purpose.
that's it.
Well, so we've been doing that.
Hours, so there we go.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's cool. Nice to you know when everybody's getting in the mood when I start getting a bunch of messages through the middle of the workday and people looking for pricing on parts or this and that. So that's been great. It'll be fun. I'm just reading through for some Luskville stuff for the drivers meeting. Obviously, I believe Glenn Grow going to be there talking with NHRA stuff, the National Opens or the team finals, not team finals, the bracket finals.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go. Mike, Grand Bend Motorplex, May 3rd, test and tune. Be there with the Nova. Andrew, when's your test and tune?
We got the track rented 15th and 16th, just before the May 2-4 long weekend. So
Absolutely.
anyone out there interested, shameless plug was exactly what this is at this point.
Absolutely, load it up.
If you're looking for testing on the Thursday or the Friday before the May 2-4 at Grand Bend, 8th mile, full prep in the 8th, EMTs. We got 1 lane on Thursday, 2 lanes on Friday, so you want to do some practice bracket racing. The BS Tour has been noted to do that the last few years when we've had the track rented, where we go out and we try things without the worry of messing it up in round 5 and costing ourselves money. Mess it up, turn it right back around, go back out there and practice again. It's one of those rare things we don't do much in the bracket racing world, which is practicing execution. So anyone interested, give me a shout. We've got pricing, we got times. We've got about 20 spots a day, and I think I've got about 16 left on each day. So if you're out in the planet and want to give that a try before you kick off your race weekend on 2-4, give me a shout. I think I actually have one person coming to test on Thursday before they pack up and head down to Cayuga for the National Open. So
that'd be a good tool, right? That does make sense to get in, because I think Cayuga does. I don't know what the deal is with National Open, if they're going to do the race on Friday again,
sure
like race Friday and Saturday. I personally hope not, but
I think it might be Saturday, Sunday, but
cuts in a little bit of time. Great move to go out there and make some test hits. That's what I'd like to do. I plan on running the National Open some races this year, so we'll see. I'd like to get some practice in before I go try and hit the throttle stop and run whatever 890 or whatever the 8th mile equivalent is for that. I think 570 or 580. I'm not sure what they run. Well, find out. We'll be somewhere in that area.
Somewhere in that.
Just you pull on you pull up into the water box. It's going to say it on the dial board on the board at the end of the track what you're set up for. So,
well, if you're set up 565, you're either going to be carrying 5 or dialed dead on. Whatever. Just
simply
560, carry a 10th or be 5 under. Whatever.
mix it all up, throw it in the bag, just make a choice.
Yeah, exactly. It's just throw a dart against the wall here, right? Just see what happens. Right?
Exactly. But should be good. Bill, Stacy, Richards, Saturday, Sunday, test Friday at Cayuga. There, I imagine that's for the National Open. So there we go. We got some information. Jason McNeil, 570. Perfect. There you go.
I still say set up 560.
Yeah, absolutely. Just leave it wide open. Don't even put a throttle stop on. Whatever.
Well, I mean, what do you hope to go, like 480, 470? You got to have some throttle stop here. I'm just suggesting at 500 feet. I just want to see that hood scoop just shaking back and forth, right, as you're killing your 10th. But,
absolutely.
right?
I'll tell you. So we haven't talked about goals. We're not prepared for that. Maybe we'll do that next show. Maybe that's an idea we'll have. If we don't have a guest
Throw that out there.
set up, maybe you and I will tie with some of our racing goals for 2025.
Yeah.
First one, my racing goal is to race Jason McNeil and to beat Jason McNeil. That's in Super Comp. I'll take any win, but
Yes.
I want to. That's the goal. It's a tough one. The 2024 NHRA National Open Super Comp champion. But yeah, that's what I want.
Is this like a Ric Flair type move? To be the best, you have to beat the best?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I like it.
I do the whole Ric Flair thing, but this isn't the time or the place for it.
Well, maybe we'll set up for a woo later, right? So
That's it. Maybe we'll get a woo after if I do beat Jason, then we'll get one.
Oh, that's a great winner circle one right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Well, Andrew, anything else before we do roll off, or is that good for episode 81?
No, I got 2 weeks to figure out what my goals are for 2025, and I'm excited to do that.
Love it. Love to hear it. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you all very much. There, Jason says, let's do it. I love it. Love the interaction. Love for everybody who is paying attention and hanging out. Hope you guys all had a lot of fun. Thank you, Kyle Harris. Great show, guys. Thanks for all you do. We appreciate that, bud. We're just having a lot of fun out here. Time we're racing.
Thanks for going rounds, Kyle. We give something to talk about. That's
Exactly. And an exciting final round video, too.
yes.
Not great for you, but it was exciting for us to watch. Thrilling time. All right, guys. Well, that's about that for episode 81. We're into April, which is unreal. How fast it's going to go. We're going to be in May here in no time. Yeah. Have lots of fun. Good luck whenever you do get started racing, and we'll talk to you all in a couple weeks.
We'll see you then.
Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.